So we've got Rotis in, of course. Hi, Rotis.
Hello, how are you guys doing? Good evening to our special guests.
Good evening, Rotus.
Yes.
Hello.
Now that the gang are here, of course, we need to introduce our special guest. She's got a lovely smile, by the way, and you can find that up on youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos, where we are streaming live. And we have got Mrs. Olufolakemi Adeniyi, who's the founder of Mel Education, because once again, we are going to be talking about Nigeria and our education sector.
Yep.
And this time we're talking Nigeria and the education vacuum. A very important conversation. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you for joining us today. Now, do you remember you too can join the conversation? All you need to do is send your WhatsApp messages in to 0809 440 Use the hashtag BusinessHub981 on Twitter, or leave a comment up on the live stream, like I said, on youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos.
All right, let's dive right into this very interesting and important topic here. So this is Olufolakemi Adeniyi. What's your assessment generally of the higher education at the public and private level in Nigeria right now?
Oh, do we have a freeze? That's all right, people. Part of education is knowing that technology can let you down, but then again, we can continue the conversation. So Rotus, let's just pop you in as well while we wait for Mrs. Adeniyi to join us. It's going to be great, like I said. But yeah, Rotus, so this is a conversation that we obviously are still having for a particular...
It's a very great demand. The reason is because it's not just...
Oh, hold on. She's back. Here we go. Ms. Adeniyi, we did not get anything that you said. So if we could start again, right? So we're talking about your assessment of higher education at public and private level in Nigeria.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. To start with, I attended a public university, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. And one thing we are all aware of is there's a high demand for higher education in Nigeria, because this is what is considered as an investment for human capital, and it also drives the growth and development of any nation we have. So when you look at the public institutions we have, they offer quite a number of courses, which a number of people will agree with me. But there's still a number of issues and challenges they're facing at the moment, such as inadequate funding, the infrastructure decaying, disruption of the academic calendar, which has also been an issue for a while, even when I was in university. And we also talk about the obsolete equipment they have, the poor salary and general welfare of the lecturers. I don't want to go into data, but the last time I did analysis on the amount an average lecturer receives in Australia, when I compare with that of Nigeria, was really distressing. So that is one of the reasons why the private universities decided to just emerge and salvage the situation. You need to bear in mind that education is what drives the growth of any nation. So if you compare the two, the private definitely have all the courses, but the public has the courses and the private has come to salvage what the public couldn't do, because they just have to step in with all this, with number of things I've mentioned this evening.
It's quite interesting because for such a long time, Nigerians, especially in the diaspora, are well known for our high levels of education. We tend to be in the highest percentage of anyone with like tertiary, post-tertiary level education. But anyway, let's talk about the current state of affairs. So do you think that that has, what we've got on ground right now has created a business opportunity for education facilitators who might want to provide university opportunities for Nigerians overseas? Because the amount of people I've seen who are going through these kind of university brokers, I just want to know if it's like maybe my crowd only, or if this is a real thing that we're seeing everywhere now.
It's a real thing, I can tell you that. I started my agency, I was actually in 2000 and...
Oh, no. Okay, so
technology strikes again.
I'm really interested in this story in 2000 and something, but actually I wrote this. This is something that I had noticed.
That was the first time I had an education fair. And the number of
2008,
people that attended was a lot. So with the current situation of, yes, 2008, that was when I had my first education fair at, I had it in Nigeria at Airport Hotel. And ever since then, the demand has always been high. People have been making inquiries. And it's just because of the current situation. There's a lot of business opportunities, education facilitators. And there's even the trend now of some universities, if they know it's going to be so expensive for you to travel to some countries, they can bring you closer to where they know they can get a large number of students. Like some universities are having satellite campuses in countries like Dubai, in the Middle East, because they know the cost of establishing there won't be as expensive. And there are also opportunities now these days where some universities or colleges are having a foundation or the prep for the university system in Nigeria. And then from there, the students start the prep program and go overseas to do their bachelors. So there are a lot of opportunities with the current situation. And that's why a lot of education providers are coming to Nigeria or coming to neighboring countries, or even we're getting more education agents or consultants having their offices in Nigeria.
Okay, so can I ask you something? I'm just going a little off tangent here, but you talked about obviously being educated at a public university, at a public higher institution, and seeing the business and the economy that has sprung up around these educational diaspora needs. How much would you say that we're missing out on here in Nigeria, at least with our public institutions, when it comes to this? Because people have obviously got enough money to be able to funnel into their children's education for this. Why are we not seeing a growth in Nigeria and in our public institutions, which were once the talk of town in the good way? So I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Me too.
Yes. Well, what can you do?
Although I missed part of the question due to fluctuation of internet, but I have an idea of what you're talking about. There's a lot of investment involved. And the good thing is because of the way Nigerians value education. Like I said earlier, this is just like the driving force to the labor market, to people be able to share and be able to compete globally. An average Nigerian is willing to sacrifice all they have. I remember when I was just about to have, like when I started my business and I was going to open my first office, and people were giving me ideas of why didn't you have it on the island? Why didn't you have it maybe in VI or maybe Lekki? And I went, do you know the first client I had came from the mainland and an area where I was not even expecting anyone to come from, Iyanokbaja. Even the names they had.
Really?
So that was the thing. Yeah, my first client from Iyanokbaja, not even Iyanokbaja, a place called Abeson.
Abeson? So,
yes,
wow.
My first client. So if someone from Abeson, which will not be classified as an eyebrow area, is able to raise enough funds to travel to Australia, then that means Nigerians are willing to sacrifice whatever it takes to educate their children and let them get out of the country and study overseas.
That's really so. What about the qualifications? If one that wants to get into this business that you're in now, if any of us wanted to start this, what kind of qualification? I think you studied mathematics, which I think is pretty heavy. But what kind of qualifications would you have to get into this?
Yeah, you need to have your peer qualification. Although I know some people start theirs just like along the way due to inquiries they get. I actually, like you said, I have a background in math, science, and all that. But because I've always had passion for business, being like from a family that is into business, my mom, a businesswoman, I could see from the queries I was getting that the passion I have and the fact I have a degree in education and I have passion for working with young people that could help me talk to people, market my business, and then go from there. So some of the courses I had to do with the peer qualification, which made me an unauthorized counselor to advise people to study in Australia. So it's not just living in Australia, but I also had to study about the educational system. I have a degree in a bachelor's degree in education. That did help me as well. And I also had to go for the ISEF certification course, and that's also helped. And I attend from time to time, regularly, at least every year, an ISEF program, which gives me my ISEF license from time to time, because if you don't attend, you lose out on that. So these are some of the things. So if anyone that is interested in becoming an education consultant, it's better for the person.
Technology.
I wonder when.
There's a bit of a delay. I'm sure she'll come back in a second. That's how it's been so far.
Yes.
A bit of a delay.
To study about the destination. So if you want to consult for institutions in the requirement, so that we can go from there.
All right, good stuff. You spoke about Australia. So this week or next week, you'll be speaking to Nigerians who are interested in obtaining a university education in that country. What do those people need to know? What information do they need to have?
Okay, for people that want to study in Australia, depending on the level of education you're interested in, you need to have your WAEC, understand the cost of living there, the visa application process. This is what our agency does, actually. And this is where we stand. We actually represent the universities or institution in Australia, and we provide stress-free application process for our clients. Some of them may have never been to Australia. I've had cases where people have confused Australia with Austria. And currently, right now in Australia, it is summer. So whereas it's cold in some other parts of Europe or the US, I'm saying the weather is cold, but it's summer now in Australia. So they need to understand the weather condition, understand what is required. So like further to that, we all normally hold Zoom meetings regularly so that our clients or prospective applicants that want to study in Australia will know what is required, and then we give them the stress-free application process.
Now, can one just focus on one country like you do with Australia, or multiple countries at once?
Yeah, it's actually possible. But for me personally, because of my background, being an Australian citizen, I decided to focus mainly on Australia. And we've actually become an expert in that area. So in that region. So lately, some of our clients that have satellite campuses in other destinations, encouraging us to promote their campuses in those destinations. And this is part of our 2023 focus. So when we work with, like, for instance, Monash University, they have a campus outside the country. So we'll not just only promote the one in Australia, we'll promote the one in other destinations as well.
Is this a line of work that you can do full-time or part-time for those, again, that are interested in getting into this type of consulting for the education sector?
It can be both. It depends on the number of hours you have. If someone decides to go part-time, then that means my advice would be for you to focus on a particular region, so that at least the little clientele you may have, you may be able to provide the required support. Like what we normally do is when we assist our clients with the application process, the testimonial is what is actually speaking for us, and they help us in getting more clients. But if someone decides to go full-time, it's great, it's fantastic. Then that means you need the support of all the, or your support of the staff member, a group of people that you've trained, they're experienced in all the areas of the business, so that at the end of the day, your testimonial will actually be what will speak for you.
All right, well, we've got to take a quick break, but when we get back, it'll be the next half of Business Hub, and we'll have more on Nigeria and the education vacuum. All right, so we have about a minute and a half, and then we'll be back on.
Business Hub on Smooth. Stay tuned.
Okay. Smooth 98.1. It is 33 minutes gone past 5 o'clock, and this is the Business Hub on the Smooth Drive. Now we have got Olufolakemi Adeniyi, who's the founder of Mel Education, discussing with us about Nigeria and the education vacuum and the business opportunities within that. So we've discussed so far and talked about the state of higher education in Nigeria, both at the public and private, levels, and just kind of what opportunities we can see, and with students and parents looking outwards. Well, yeah, if there's anything for people with a business mind to get into. So, Mr. Adeniyi, we've got more questions for you.
Oh yes, we do. Now, speaking about parents, looking at single people and probably brand new married couples who are listening, when should they begin to start saving towards possibly educating their children overseas for university? Because a lot of people talk about how expensive it might be and so on and so forth. So they need to get their finances in order. So when is the best time for them to start, saving for this?
I reckon it would be better they start as soon as the child gets into high school, the GSS1, maybe open an account and then start saving monthly towards it. Because the study budget for in Australian dollars is an estimate of about $45,000 to $60,000 is what is expected by the time you make your application to study for the first year. And what is required is the applicant needs to pay the first semester school fees, pay for overseas healthcare insurance. The school fees is average of about $16,000 a semester now. And then they're looking at the parents having enough funds for the living expenses for 1 year, which is about 23,000 Australian dollars. And one of the things that is required is the income should be in a personal bank statement for a minimum of 3 months. But if they start as early as when the kid is in GSS1, by the time the child is finishing secondary school, they should be able to have enough funds.
I always believe just once the baby is born,
Just start.
just start saving.
Start saving.
Just start saving.
Exactly.
Okay, so now here's a really interesting one, right? So do you think it's a wise idea to plan to give birth overseas in the country where you're looking to educate your child in order for you to secure those in-state fees, which are, lower than international fees?
Yes, I can say yes, but sometimes you need to find out for people that have actually done it, because a lot of countries change their policy from time to time. For instance, in Australia, if a student comes, okay, or a couple decides, okay, I'm going to have my baby in Australia, maybe you travel on a visiting visa, which is a tourist visa, or a student visa, and you have a child. The child will be given the visa status or whatever the parents have as of that time. So a student giving birth in Australia, child will have a student visa. If someone seeking protection visa, the child will have a protection visa. So they need to find out about the visa status, what's the latest policy is on that before they do that. And sometimes some countries change. But if it's possible and you're aware that country is going to give you that opportunity, I think it's a wise idea you do that. Because some countries are looking at a situation where parents will have contributed to the workforce before the child will be eligible for home student fees.
That is so interesting.
I
never even knew that.
Yeah, I know you mentioned earlier, you did a study where you were comparing how much the average teacher salary was in Australia versus Nigeria. But what's the quality as far as what Nigeria needs to do to replicate the quality seen in Australia? Is it a policy thing, or what do you think needs to be done?
I still think it's a policy thing, because, universities overseas and lecturers, the ethics, and I'll say on ethics as well, they value international students. They provide state-of-the-art facilities. Even if an institution, for instance, folds up or something happens, and the students have the institution gets into a certain situation where the school closed down, there's a policy in place that will help such students to be transferred to another one so they don't lose their school fees. Tertiary institutions always give students the real life experience. They give them the opportunity to work outside the classroom. It's not just theoretical things. They get the opportunities of hands-on, they have the opportunities of internship, and these are some of the things that actually help people that study in Australia. If some of these things can be incorporated in the educational system, for instance, my background in engineering, I had the opportunity of doing a lot of IT, industrial training here and there, and those are some of the things that did help me when I graduated to be able to get a job. So the universities or the educational system should have policy in place where not just students are studying a lot of theoretical stuff, but they have hands-on opportunity, they have internship programs, they have mentor system, and that will encourage people to want to study and get into the workforce easily.
Very, very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. What about job opportunities for foreigners once you're done with school? Is there a pipeline to get a job, and what will be the visa complications with that? Because normally when you finish school, I think you have to leave. What's it like for Australia?
No, I know it's Australia. Yeah, they welcome international students. Currently, there's the opportunity where students can. Okay, it used to be 40 hours a fortnight, but now it's unlimited for a lot of the courses because of the shortage in the job market, the workforce. So currently there are a lot of opportunities for nurses, engineers, doctors, people have studied data science, analytics. A lot of opportunities are there. So I'll advise people that are interested in working in Australia to check out the Skill List Australia. There's a lot of shortages, there are a lot of opportunities for students. And there's also what they call the post-study work rights, which is a post-study that goes from between a year and 3 years. They give them the opportunity to work. And during that period, some of them can actually get back some of the money they've invested in their education.
The system is just, it's like a loop. It's a loop that not only it not only gives you a warm welcome into the country, not only provides quality education, but also provides, like I said, a loop that allows you to now even assimilate into the workforce. It's like everything is just so, It's so well thought out. Wow, Nigeria. What is the population of Nigerians like? I know Canada has been the hottest thing now. Everybody keeps talking about going to Canada. But what's the
there's a real Nigerian
like
community in Australia, you know.
There's a huge community. I don't have the percentage. I won't want to give you the wrong number, but I can tell you the number keeps increasing. That's one. Two, we have Nigerian association in all the states, and the number keeps increasing. And some are bringing their spouses, their family, and the number is just increasing. So it's quite interesting to know that we now have Nigerian eateries in some places, which we didn't have before.
I really feel as though Australia, I really feel as though Australia is like the unspoken destination for Nigerians, because there are so many Nigerians in Australia, but then it's not really one of those countries that comes up in conversation. Germany comes up in conversation more than Australia.
No, it's not one of those. And that's why some of us that are so passionate about the educational system in Australia, that we've seen what it has done, and the opportunities are there. Will from time to time have this information session, so that to encourage people to just come on board, come and see the opportunities where you can become an Australian citizen in less than 6 years. If you study a program, get the post-study work right, and all that will follow. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here also to promote that at the Sheraton Hotel this weekend. So for people that are interested on the 4th, they should just come around from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'll be there talking to people. There's so many opportunities. And then my number one opportunity, or number one marketing strategy has always been the weather is warm, nice, friendly, like home. You can't beat that. It's summer. It's summer right now. So you can imagine. And people are wearing jackets. So just come and see what it's like. And you can get Nigerian food. So gone are those days we didn't have palm oil. We used to cook with vegetable oil. There's everything there now.
The market is opening up.
The market has opened up. All right, we've got this message from Matthew Afolabi, who says, let's also bear in mind that education outside Nigeria is not cheap. If we are going to meet their standards, then school fees in Nigeria must increase. We will get the quality we want when we are ready to pay.
He's right.
He's not wrong. Okay.
It's not wrong.
Before we leave, this is going to go on a completely different tangent, but just so that people can get a feel of the country they're going to. Now, I've heard and I've seen some in some like documentaries and videos. Is it true that Australians walk around, just go outside without shoes? Like they enjoy their feet on the ground and the pavement. That's how laid back it is.
That's how laid back it is. We call them the Bogans. The Bogans. That was a cultural shock for me. And I used to think, are these people celestial members? But later on, I got to know they like that. They walk barefooted, and also they sit on the floor, bare floor, and cross their legs. They're like the Aboriginal people. So when you're there, you feel comfortable sitting on the floor as well.
That sounds like my kind of people.
It doesn't surprise
like you're doing yoga.
Yeah, sounds like my kind of people, very chill and laid back. All right, we have come to the end of the show, but we would like to say a very big thank you to you, Mrs. Olufolakemi Adeniyi, who's the founder of Mel Education. It's been such an interesting conversation, and now people are thinking, Australia?
Just maybe.
Maybe Australia, yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm glad I was able to share some insight into educational system in Australia, and I look forward to seeing people on Saturday.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Bye.
Goodbye. And that is that for Business Express. Of course, nope. Sorry, because I saw Rotus. That's not for Business Hub. But you can catch Rotus on Business Express. He is on 6:30 on weekday mornings, but you can also catch him tomorrow once again from 5:15 till 5:45 here on the Smooth Drive. And that will be for personal finance. Rotus, thank you and goodbye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, Rotus.
For everything business.